you've made a tremendous impact at the HBCUs. I guess how difficult was the decision to leave what you started there?
Tremendous. Because it wasn't about the X's and O's or the wins and losses. It was about those kids. It was about looking at the faces of those kids, knowing that I'm being ready. God is getting ready to elevate me. God is getting ready to elevate me. Usually a coach is terminated or elevated. Thank God I'm elevated. But still, the journey is not complete. Some of the things that we accomplished there about bringing understanding and notoriety to certain falsities or non-committal things that are done in Power Fives, maybe God is using me to be the catalyst, to make you think and to make you just fathom another way, to make us feel unthreatened when someone of the other ethnicity is approaching, to just make us feel good about today. Maybe God is really using me to open doors at this level. The thing that alarms me the most is just because I'm leaving Jackson, they think that I'm leaving African Americans. I don't know if you noticed or not, but I'm black. I can never leave who I am and what I am and how I go about being that. So it is still my task to look in that locker room and see 65 to 70% of African American men trying to help them get to the next level, as well as all the others. My calling is for young men, young women, and people of all walks of life, all social climates, and all ethnicities. That's my calling. My calling is not built on a location. It's built on a destination. Now that was good. You're supposed to clap for that. Darn it, that was good. You give me some of my good stuff. We just getting started. I already went in the bag, baby. Let's go.
All right, how's everyone doing? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to the Lyons Den podcast, where my son and I talk all things Detroit Lions. Even though I said that sometimes we will touch on some different subjects, and this is one of those times. The subject that I would like to touch on today is the so-called scandal of Deion Sanders leaving Jackson State and going to the University of Colorado. Now, let me explain to my Lions fans and all the rest of you why I'm touching on this subject. It's because Deion Sanders was and is my all-time favorite football player. Out of my top 5 football players, the top 2 happen to both be Sanders. Number 1, Deion Sanders. Number 2, the great Barry Sanders that played for the Detroit Lions. Now, I have been a Deion Sanders guy ever since I was a kid, ever since I was 12 and I saw him at Florida State. If I remember, it was an NBC game, and I remember seeing him dancing in the back, getting ready to receive the punt. And from that moment, that was my guy. When I played football in middle school and high school, I wanted to be Deion Sanders. I wore number 21 because of Deion Sanders. Whenever I made a big play, I called myself doing that little two-step like Sanders. I mean, he was my guy. And it turned out that he ended up being, in my opinion, the best cornerback to ever live. Now, when Deion Sanders got the job at Jackson State, I was very happy for him, and I was happy for Jackson State. I thought that he would bring a lot of notoriety and a lot of goodwill and attention to Jackson State, the HBCU down in Mississippi, and he did. For the 3 seasons he was there, a lot of people cared about Jackson State. People would tune into the games. People would go to the games even when they went to other HBCUs. People would show up to the games to show their support. Why? Because Deion Sanders has a personality that's larger than life. Listen, he's not just a former NFL player, Hall of Famer who showed up there to coach and the people just gravitated onto it. He has a larger than life personality. He has a lot of charisma. Let me give you an example. Eddie George, who was a great NFL player, is coaching at Tennessee State. Some of you may know that, some of you may not, but I can tell you this: Tennessee State definitely does not get the same attention that Jackson State does. Deion Sanders brought a whole different kind of energy to that school, a whole different spotlight on there, and that's what happens when players who are larger than life get a job like that. Let me give you an example. If Allen Iverson started coaching and Allen Iverson decided that he was going to go to Morehouse, Now, I actually don't know what division Morehouse is in, but let's just say he went to Morehouse. Some of you could care less about Morehouse basketball, but I guarantee you, if the name Allen Iverson got attached to Morehouse basketball, people would tune in. People would get on ESPN Plus and find it however they had to check out Morehouse just to see how good Allen Iverson is doing. Why? Because Allen Iverson had that type of personality that was larger than life that people, even now in his 40s, still gravitate to. So Deion Sanders brought a lot of good to Jackson State. And it came up about a week or so ago that he had some offers for some other jobs in Power 5 conferences, and it just so happens that Colorado was one of them, and he decided to take the job. The issue that I have is that there are a lot of folks like me, black folks, who are upset because he left. And the reason that they say they're upset is because, he came in and he sold family. He sold this dream that he was going to be here and he was going to build this thing and get it to where that they can get up there and play with the big boys. The issue I have with this on social media, and the reason why I'm doing a video about this, is because I have been very irked with people who probably don't even watch football, probably don't know anything about football, probably don't know anything about how coaching football works. They're just in their feelings and just so upset. They don't seem to realize that this is exactly what every coach does. Every coach who's ever coached at a lower level always is looking for a better opportunity. I live in Michigan. Brian Kelly, who is currently the LSU coach, used to coach at Grand Valley State. Now, if you're not from Michigan, and particularly if you didn't go to school there or you're not a fan of sports, you probably don't know anything about Grand Valley State. When Brian Kelly was there, he won several national championships at Grand Valley State. And I can guarantee, now I don't remember how long Brian Kelly was there, but I can guarantee you that every time he went to recruit young men, he sat in their living rooms with their parents, with their grandparents, with their uncles, with their caregivers, whoever. And he said, hey, if you send your son to school here, I'm going to take care of him. You know, he's going to leave better than he came, and I'm going to be here to see him through. I don't believe that coaches, when they say that, they don't mean it. They just mean it at the moment, because you're not going to ever be able to recruit players if you sit in someone's home and say, listen, I'm going to be straight with you. If I want your son to come to school here and I want him to play for me, but if I get a job offer in 3 weeks after he commits, I'm out of here. Listen, no coach is going to do that. And I'm very disappointed with the fact that people really expected Deion Sanders to do that. They expected him to stick at Jackson State when we all knew it wasn't the case. As a matter of fact, he said it himself. If you saw the 60 Minutes interview, if you've seen other interviews that he's done, he made it clear that if the Power Fives come calling, he at least was going to answer and see what they're talking about. Now, people are in their feelings talking about, well, yeah, but about all the places he went, why Colorado? Let me help you non-football fans understand why he's going to Colorado. Number one, it is a Power 5 school in a Power 5 conference. Number two, it gives him the opportunity to build something. If you pay attention, Colorado has been bad recently. Now, back when I'm 47 and back when I was young, back in the early 90s, Colorado was good. Colorado hasn't been good for possibly 12 to 15 years. I mean, it's been a long time since I actually remember Colorado being good. He wants to bring them back. Number two, I believe that going to the Pac-12 will be a good opportunity for a coach like Sanders, because UCLA and USC, two of the big hitters in the Pac-12, are going to be gone and coming to the Big Ten in 2024. By that time, he would have his second recruiting class under him, and he may be ready to take over the Pac-12. So it gives him a chance to be the king of the Pac-12. Another reason is that after, let's say, 4 or 5 years at Colorado, and he does good there, guess what's going to be waiting for him? A huge job. One of the big schools could be waiting for him. I'm talking Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Florida, Georgia, Alabama. You never know, who's going to retire, who's going to move on, or who's going to be fired. One of those jobs is going to be waiting for him. And if you don't think that Deion Sanders wants to coach at his alma mater, Florida State, or one of those big schools, then you just don't get it. Of course, that's what he wants to do. Of course, like all coaches, he wants to challenge himself and move on to see if he can hang with the big boys. But I've been very disappointed in my folks that we are so upset and spitting so much vitriol on this man that is, acting as if like he had it all there. Let's be honest. A lot of people were not checking for the HBCU schools, football schools, before Sanders got there and shined that light on Jackson State. Now, I'm a football fan. I watch the Celebration Bowl every single year. I don't miss it. One, because I love football, and two, I do like to support my HBCUs. I do like to support the schools where young black men go. But the truth is that those schools will never be able to compete with the big boys, in the FBS schools. Matter of fact, none of the FCS schools can compete. That's why there's levels to this game. So when people are in their feelings saying that, well, I've heard people say things like, well, he didn't really make the HBCUs. And I was listening to a podcast just yesterday, and a lady was on there talking about, well, the HBCUs have always been hype, and because she was referring to the fact that someone posted a video of Sanders like hyping up the crowd at Jackson State before a game, and people, and the caption said, Colorado, get ready for this. And the lady was saying, well, it's not going to be the same thing, and blah, 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 blah. Listen, ma'am, Colorado is going to be hype. It's going to be the same energy, and it's going to be because of Sanders. He's going to bring that energy to Colorado. As far as HBCUs being hype, that Jackson State was not quote unquote hype as it was when he was there. He has the energy to get the people out and get the people up and riled up and support their teams. And some people have said, well, he may be leaving, but, it's going to carry on. Listen, let's not fool ourselves. Jackson State is never going to be the same again. I don't know who's going to coach there now, but whoever it is, it's not going to be Deion Sanders. He's not going to have Deion Sanders' personality. He's not going to have his charismatic attitude. Whoever they bring in, it's not going to be Deion Sanders. College game day is not going back to Jackson State in 2023 because Coach Mike Mitchell is coaching there, and people want a little bit of this HBCU experience, which brings me to the players, because a lot of people are upset with the fact that Shedeur Sanders is leaving, and there's a chance that Travis Hunter could be leaving. Now, Travis Hunter may be leaving, but he may not necessarily be going to Colorado State, at least as of today, December the 6th. I haven't heard that yet, but Travis Hunter is leaving, and there was another big recruit that on Saturday actually decommitted once he heard that Deion was going to Colorado. And a lot of the people upset about that. Oh, well, he's leaving. He's taking the players with him. Listen, those players, the very good players, they only went to that school because of Primetime Sanders. They did not go to that school because they wanted the HBCU experience. And listen, you can get mad all you want. It doesn't matter. Get out of your feelings. None of those boys went there because they wanted the HBCU experience. They went there because they wanted to play for Deion Sanders. Plain and simple. His son went there because he wanted to play for his dad. If Deion Sanders never got a job at Jackson State, but let's say he got the job at North Texas, let's say a small FBS school who hasn't been good in years, guess where Shedeur would have went? He would have went to North Texas. If Deion Sanders would have got the job at Louisiana Monroe, guess where Shedeur would have went? He would have went to Louisiana Monroe. He was going to go where his dad went. He didn't go there because he wanted to get the experience. Travis Hunter, a top 5 recruit out of the class of 2022, did not go to Jackson State because he wanted to get the so-called HBCU experience. He went there because of Deion Sanders. And listen, it's nothing wrong with going to a HBCU. I support it. There are some good things being done there, but let's just not play like they are on the same level or ever will be on the same level as the big schools. Speaking of HBCUs, it's not just them. It's even some of the low-level D1 schools. Some of the schools I just named, North Texas, Rice, Louisiana Monroe, some of these schools that are on the bottom end, Eastern Michigan, just to name another school, a school that's right here in the state I'm in. Listen, those schools will never be able to compete with the big boys. Now, they may be able to get a coach in there who can bring some type of excitement there for a small bit of time, but those schools will never be able to compete with the big boys. Now, I think that we should be happy for Deion Sanders. I think that he'll do good things in Colorado, and I'm gonna be very honest with you. In 2021, my wife and I went to a game in Louisiana when Jackson State played Southern. Why did I go to that game? Because of Jackson State, because my guy was there. And even though he was in the wheelchair with his foot up, I wanted to see my guy. I went there and supported my guy. And guess what's going to happen? When he goes to Colorado, I'm going to look up some of those Colorado games, and I'm going to watch as many Colorado games as I can in 2023 to support my guy. It's the same thing those kids did. They went there for the guy. So in the end, what I would like is for people to just be happy with what he did there, be happy with the fact that he did bring some resources there. He donated his salary to help with their facilities. He knew people who made suits or that could donate suits so his boys can look good going to the games. I remember reading somewhere that he has a connection with American Airlines so those boys could fly good. Excuse me, going to the games. He did a lot of good things for those young men, and I think it was stand up for him to sit in front of those young men Saturday night and to tell them that he wanted to be the first to tell them that he was leaving. Those young men are going to be better for it. Some of them are going to stay right there, and I hope that they get a good education and they finish their time playing football at Jackson State. A couple of the kids may get in the transfer portal, and they may be blessed to be picked up by another school, and some of the boys are going to follow him to Colorado. Well, basically, I just want to give my thoughts on it. Everybody else has given their thoughts on Deion Sanders' move to Colorado, but because he's my favorite NFL player, I want to give my thoughts on it and shut down some of this foolishness of people acting like he did something wrong. He's doing nothing that any coach in the past, the present, or the future is going to do. Every coach who has coached at a quote unquote smaller school, and if you don't like it, me calling these schools smaller, you just don't like it. But every coach who has coached at those levels has always moved up. Do you think that Nick Saban always coached at Alabama? No, he actually coached right here in the state of Michigan at Michigan State. Now, Michigan State is an above average school. I mean, they didn't look at this year, but I mean, as far as rank go, I would say that they're in the top 50 out of the top 130 D1 FBS college football schools. But let's be honest, they aren't in the top 20 or 25. When Nick Saban got the chance, what did he do? He moved on. Right here in Michigan, at Western Michigan, if some of you know who PJ Fleck is, the coach at Minnesota, he did a good thing here at Western Michigan. I think his first season he won like 3 games or something, and then the next year they went to the Bahamas Bowl. They went like 6-6 or something. They went to the Bahamas Bowl, and then 2 years after that they were ranked 16th in the nation and gave Wisconsin all they could handle in the Cotton Bowl. Guess what happened after that? Right after the Cotton Bowl, guess what happened? He got an offer to go to Minnesota, and what did he do? He left. What did he say when he was here? I'm gonna be here. I want to build something, row the boat. We're gonna do this thing. But when the better opportunity came, he took it, and you can't be upset with that the same way people can't be upset with Sanders. All right, people, that's all I got on that. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so we can keep talking football and other things. Shout out to my Lyons fans. Looking forward to the game this week in Minnesota. I want to apologize for our Detroit-Jacksonville overview. My audio was messed up. I don't know what's going on. My son's audio sounded good, but my audio was messed up, so I apologize for that. But as I mentioned, we'll be at the game this Sunday, so hopefully some of you will too. Give us a shout out and let us know, where you are. Maybe, man, we can each put up our hand and say hey to each other, and hopefully our Lions will come away with the victory over the Vikings on this Sunday, and we keep this thing rolling. All right, football fans, that's all I got. Peace.